Welcome to this theory that I enjoy calling the Infinite Energy Files, Religion and History of the Pokemon World. In this series, I'll try to explain a lot of topics related to the in-game universe of Pokemon, how it became what it is, and the inspiration behind the lore of the games, discussing themes as alchemy, history, and mythology, and using them to connect the lore and backgrounds of different regions and explain how the Pokemon world works. The series will consist of 3 videos in which I will touch many points, and after that I will make a couple more videos. Those will be an Appendix Series talking about subjects that aren't vital for the theory or are not fully fleshed out. Part 1 will work as a setup video, introducing topics that will be important later on. Part 2 explores in detail recent and ancient history of the Pokemon world relating to infinite energy. Part 3, being the heaviest, talks about Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon and what they bring to the table, and some of the ideas behind many legendary Pokemon from older generations. Also, I want to make clear that I am not a native English speaker, so sorry in advance if I pronounce something wrong. The next few videos will be divided in independent files. Each one is a different section explaining a specific topic or inspiration behind some concepts of the games, but they all connect with each other. This video is part 1 and goes from file 1 to file 3, introducing some ideas that are connected to the rest of the theory and will be more important later while standing on its own. So let's proceed with file 1 and the origins of Team Plasma. To fully understand big part of the theory, we need to explain first the origins of Univasible Team. Logstin already talked about this in a video, so I'll leave a link somewhere. Team Plasma is based off the Catholic Church and the Templars. It may seem weird, but let me explain and everything will start making sense. First, look at Team Plasma's logo. This symbol is a modified Chi-Rho. The Chi-Rho is a symbol that was used by Christians before the legalization of their religion, but when the Roman Emperor Constantine I converted to Christianity, the Catholic Church took it to symbolize Christ. X and P are the first 2 letters of the word Christ in Greek. Alpha and Omega represent God being the first and the last, the most important thing. While the X is not present in Team Plasma's logo, it is present in the head of the Grants and the hats of the 7 Sages. We can also notice how the 7 Sages, this group of wise men from all over the world, look like cardinals, people who in the church have a similar role to them. This gives Ghetsis a similar role to the Pope. The connection goes even deeper. Team Plasma crucified the gym leaders in the manga, and the Chi-Rho is visible in Ghetsis' stuff, with the missing X now present behind the main symbol. The Catholic Church still uses the Chi-Rho to this day, appearing in architecture, clothing, and some other religious elements. But in the past, it was also used as a symbol in shields. And this takes us back to the Templars. Team Plasma Grants dress like knights in Pokemon Black and White. This is due to being based off the Templars. The Templars were formed by knights that took part in the First Crusade. While they didn't use the Chi-Rho in shields, they did use it in graves and buildings. With time, the Order became powerful and rich, even loaning money to some kings. They became owners of lands, natural resources, and were involved in manufacturing, import, and export. even owning their own fleet of ships. This was a big problem for the Catholic Church and the new absolute monarchies. Many kings were in debt with the order, and that was an obstacle for the Catholic Church. So they started persecuting the Templars, accusing them of heresy and sodomy. The order came to an end, but some of the Templars, using their abilities for navigation and commerce, became pirates. They were the first to use the skull and crossbones symbol inspired by the Chirro. This is why in Pokemon Black and White 2, Team Plasma became pirates, just as the Templars did. Now, the influence of the Order didn't stop there. The legacy of the Templars is present in the Freemasonry, a fraternal organization that has incorporated the symbols and rituals of several medieval military orders. In the games, this is distinguishable in the P2 laboratory. P2 is a reference to Propaganda Due, an Italian Freemasonic lodge that was involved in criminal activities with the mafia. This lodge had really influential members, as politicians and journalists. Once they were discovered, documents planning a democratic rebirth were found, and their connections to some South American dictatorships were exposed. Now you may be asking, what does this have to do with infinite energy? Well, let's proceed to File 2. What do we know about the Kalos War? From what we learned in the games, we can tell that AC was a king while fighting this war 3000 years ago. His fleet was involved in the conflict and ended up dying, and after this, a heartbroken AC created a machine that used the life energy of Pokemon to bring his fleet back to life. Then he used that machine as a weapon and gave end to the war. After this, Floyd left AC, making him realize his mistake. And now, in Pokemon X and Y, if you go deep inside Lysandra's labs, you can find a room with some interesting files talking about the Kalos War. AC had a younger brother who brought the Kalos, a group of greedy men from all over the world. His plan was to be their leader and use them to take over the region. But once he saw the destruction the war caused, he realized the error of his ways and tried to make amends for his actions by burying the weapon in an attempt to prevent it from ever being used again. AC disappeared, taking with him a key. That key was a necessary piece to activate the ultimate weapon. So from this we know that AC had a greedy brother under circumstances of the war. But this made me think, what if AC and his brother are the twin heroes from the Unova war? But first, let's talk about the history of Unova and what we learned from Iris and Drayden about the original dragon. From this, we know the history of the twin heroes, how they used the original dragon to create the Unova region, how Reshiram and Zekrom came to be, and how the sons of the twin heroes continued the war after their parents. All this information will be important later, so please remember it. Now, let's discuss the evidence. First, Parfum Palace. In the garden, we can find 3 statues that connect to Unova. To make it extremely clear, those are Reshiram and Zekrom. The other statue shows a knight with 3 Pokemon. Those Pokemon are Golurk, Palpitoad, and Eevee. 2 of these Pokemon are from Unova. This statue is similar to another statue in the franchise, one located in the Unova League. By the way, at the end of Pokemon X and Y, you can battle AC. He uses 3 Pokemon in his team: Golurk, Torkoal, and Sigilyph. Golurk is one of those 3 Pokemon, and Sigilyph is from Unova. While Torkoal is from Hoenn, We learn from Zinnia and Wallace that AC traveled to that region in the past. Sigilif is said to be the guardian of an ancient city and appears close to Relic Castle and in Kalos Route 10, near where AC used his ultimate weapon. In the same route, we can find Golett. This Pokemon and Golurk are said to be ordered to protect people and Pokemon by the ancient people who made them. Also that they run a mysterious energy that can be active for thousands of years. They also appear in Dragon Spiral Tower, where one of the legendary dragons is hidden. What gives my theory more credibility is the Abyssal Ruins. When we explore them, and thanks to the documents given to the player by Cinsolin, we discover that this place is a memorial for a king. But before talking about that, I want to talk about the items that can be found in this place. 14 plates, relic gold, silver and copper, probably used as currency by the ancient civilization that built this place. The relic statue, which looks like Diancie, the relic base, the relic band, and in the final room, the relic crown, which looks exactly like En's crown from the intro of the games. All those items are 3000 years old, which means they were made during the Kalos War times, and some of them represent things from Gen 6. Going back to the inscriptions we can read in the walls of the ruins, they all talk about this king and his reputation. But the last part contains 4 symbols that cannot be translated with Cinsolin's documents. The first of these 4 symbols looks like a fleur-de-lis, which is the symbol of the French royalty. AC is the king of Kalos, region based on France. The fleur-de-lis is also what inspires the design of AC's ultimate weapon, Lysander's name, and in Gen 5, Serperior. This is why it appears in Parfum Palace's doors. The last of these 4 symbols is this king's name. This symbol is speculated to be Armonia, the last name of Ghetsis and N from Team Plasma, as it has 5 characters in Japanese, 5 in Korean, 8 in English, French and Italian, and 7 in Spanish, Armonia. Therefore, Ghetsis is a descendant of AC's younger brother, the King Armonia. From this we can assume the following events. AC and his brother Armonia got hold of the original dragon. They went to Unova and founded the new region. The relic castle was built. Eventually they started to argue about the control of the region, and this led to the separation of the dragon in 2. A war started between them, and AC's Floette was sent to battle. After Floette died, AC made a machine to bring it back to life, using the life energy of other Pokemon. Then transformed this machine into a weapon and used it to finish the war. The blast of the ultimate weapon hits the Relic Castle, center of the Unovan Kingdom, killing all those who were there. This may be the origin of Yamask, as its Pokédex entry says. Each of them carries a mask that used to be its face when it was human. Sometimes they look at it and cry. People from other places of the region see this blast hitting the earth and think it's from space. This is why when Curien appears not too long after that, people think it's from space. Armonia, who wasn't affected by the strike of the weapon, traveled to Kalos with his group of greedy men, but when he saw what his brother did, he changed his mind and hid the weapon. A few years later, the sons of Armonia and AC got hold of the dragons and restarted the war that destroyed Unova. This is probably the reason that later on people started worshipping Volcarona. After either the strike of AC's weapon or the Second War, Clouds of dust covered the atmosphere and blocked the sunlight, making the region cold. As Volcarona's Pokédex states, when volcanic ash darkened the atmosphere, it is said that Volcarona's fire provided replacement for the sun, and said to be an embodiment of the sun, it appeared during a bitterly cold winter and saved Pokémon from freezing. This is something that scientists theorize happened during the massive extinction event that killed the dinosaurs. Armonia stops and reverts the dragons to the light stone and the dark stone, then hid the stones in the Relic Castle and Dragon Spiral Tower. This is why in Armonia's memorial the inscriptions talk about how war brings tears and how good or evil isn't all. Also talks about respecting nature and being grateful to it. This is something that will come back later. The documents in Lysander's lab say, before dying, the younger brother of the king revealed to his sons the existence of the ultimate weapon. That artifact shall not be touched by human hands. It is an artifact for superior beings. 3,000 years later, Ghetsis Harmonia, a descendant of the Unovan crown, uses the same plan as his ancestor tried to use to conquer the Kalos region. He takes the Seven Sages, a group of very knowledgeable people, to Unova with the plan of taking over it, using them and a child who had the ability of talking to Pokémon, as the inscriptions of the episode ruins suggest the King Harmonia was able of doing. Also, it's interesting to point out how Route 10 and Relic Castle are connected. Psychics go to those places because they have an energy. This also happens in the Relic Passage, a tunnel connecting Relic Castle and Castelia City. This tunnel was made at the same time as the Relic Castle. This detail will be back later, so please remember it. Now let's talk about some minor evidence that may not be right but helps understanding the world. As the heroes, the regions are twins. Kalos and Unova were built similar to each other. The map of both regions is almost the same. Some theories had put Kalos in the east and Unova in the west, paralleling the USA and France, but I think that might be wrong. If you see the ultimate weapon cutscene, the blast of the weapon goes to the east. Remember that Carway town in the east of the Kalos region has a train station that goes to the east, and if you place Unova in that side, connects perfectly to Anvil town. Not to mention that most Pokémon that appear in Twist Mountain and in most of the west side of Unova appear in the east of Kalos. The tip of the iceberg is the fact that Gastrodon appears in the Kalos region only in the Friend Safari. This place is in the east side of Kalos, but Gastrodon appears in the west sea form. Now remember that I mentioned Relic Passage, a tunnel connecting Castelia City and Relic Castle. How will people from 3,000 years ago make a tunnel that goes undersea? Well, the answer will be in File 3 and 4. In this section, I'll try to explain what infinite energy is and how it is used. As we know, infinite energy is obtained from the life force of Pokémon. AC used this energy to power up his ultimate weapon, killing many Pokémon in the process. The energy that the weapon irradiated over Kalos modified evolutionary stones, transforming them into Mega Stones. But I think this is not the first time we hear about this type of energy in the franchise. Professor Sycamore, who studies the effects of this energy in the Kalos region, used to work under Professor Rowan in the Sinnoh region. After your first encounter with Team Galactic in Gen 4, Rowan will say, when Pokemon evolve, they seem to release some type of energy. However, I believe that it is a mystic power far beyond our control. But Team Galactic seems to be studying that power's potential. They want to know if it can be used as energy for something. When Pokemon evolve, they release energy. The same happens during Mega Evolution. That's how they are pushed to a new level. It's the same type of energy but more condensed. Another mention of this energy can be found in the Delta episode. Mr. Stone, president of Devon, tells us how his company uses this energy. That's how Devon became a giant corporation. A long time ago, it was a small company that mined rocks and smelted iron sand to iron. But once they learned about infinite energy, they expanded their horizons and started producing a lot of new products, such as Pokeballs. They also use it in submarines and the rockets launched from Moss Deep City. This may indicate that Silvio in the Kanto region has also knowledge of this kind of energy. After all, they also produce Pokeballs and have teleporting panels in their building, which, as we learned from Cosmo in the Delta episode, work with infinite energy. Now that we know the applications of this energy and that it is the life force of Pokemon, this description is similar to the alchemic concept of Azot. Azot is none other than the universal life force. The Azot is not only the animating energy of the body, but it is also the inspiration that moves the mind. In the cosmos and within each of us, the Azot is believed to be the mysterious evolutionary force responsible for the relentless drive towards physical and spiritual perfection. Thus, the Azot is analogous to the light of nature or mind of God. In other words, the Azot is the divine energy that surrounds us all and what we are made of. It is a form of the power of God. Because the Azot contains the complete information of the whole universe, it is also used as another word for the Philosopher's Stone. It is also the energy used in any transmutation. As you can see, the infinite energy is the Pokemon equivalent of the alchemical Azot, first used by AC in his machine to revive his Loet, just like in alchemy. Because in alchemy, you need the life force of a lot of people to revive just one. This is really important when we have in the Pokemon world something called Project Azot. And this was a project initiated by Team Aqua and Magma in Horas. From the files in their hideouts, we can tell that the goal of this project was to use the legendary Pokemon in their primal forms to return the world to how it was in the beginning. This fits perfectly with alchemy. After all, the main goal of alchemy is for humans to become immortal, return to how they were in the beginning, how they were in the Garden of Eden. This is my little explanation about Azot and infinite energy. The subject will be back later to be fully explored, but I think it needed to be discussed to make everything clear for what is about to come. Team Plasma is based off the Vatican and the Templars, and also uses some symbols from Freemasonry. Ghetsis is a descendant of the king Armonia, who was AC's brother. They were the twin heroes from the Unova Legends, and they also started the Kalos War after the original dragon splitted into two different Pokemon. AC's ultimate weapon worked with infinite energy, which is based off the alchemical concept of Azot, being a representation of the mind of God, and it is present in everything in the world. We may now advance into File 4, where everything will start coming together, but that will be in the next video. In Part 2, I will talk about religion in the Pokemon world, how Seal Valley was made, what is unknown, how Ho-Oh created legendary beasts, and I will explain more about AC and his brother, and a lot more about the Pokemon world history. So thanks and see you later.